You're listening to Lady Charmaine Live on 97.5 KDEE.
You're back inside the Girls Club with my girl Shari Wilson and also D. Oroki Asami. Okay. We are talking about mothers of black sons and how do we deal with the fears that most mothers face. I know fathers feel the same thing, but when your son leaves and go out of the house, will he come back? I want to share I want to share with you this story that had happened to my husband. He had been volunteering at my daughter's school in the morning. And so he decided to go and get her some lunch. Now, we live 4 houses down from the school. He went to the restaurant that's in our community that you can walk to. So on his way, he ended up being pulled over by the police. Now, he knew he was driving the speed limit, so he didn't know what excuse the officer was going to give for pulling him over. The excuse the officer gave was because he was on his cell phone. So my husband told him, no, I was not on my cell phone, because my husband, when he gets in his car, he puts his cell phone in his armrest when he gets in the car, because since he has Bluetooth, he can talk through his speaker. And so the officer said, no, I saw you on your phone. And my husband was able to say, no, I was not on my phone. And because it's such a short distance anyway from the school to the restaurant, so the officer just ran his license plate and they ended up letting him go. Now, who knows? That could have been a traffic accident, a traffic stop that could have went way wrong. But to accuse him of being on his cell phone when he knew good and well he wasn't on his cell phone. And I said, I don't believe the officer understood that cars now have Bluetooth in them, so you don't need to have your phone in your hand to talk on the phone. And so how many people have been pulled over for erroneous things so they can run your license plate to see if you possibly have a warrant, or to see, you know what I mean, if there's something going on because you're just maybe African American. And so my husband was like, okay, this is true driving while black.
I'm pulled over at least 3 times on Elk Grove Boulevard. And when I leaving out my shop, I had an officer pull me over. I didn't stop because it was dark going down that one part of Elk Grove Boulevard, and I kept going. I was on my way home. I said, well, you know what? He's just going to pull me over when I get home.
Really?
And my husband told me pull over immediately. Yeah. So I pulled over by Jamba Juice, and I promise you it was 8 cars behind me. And the officer told me if I wasn't going to stop, it was going to look bad.
Yeah.
For no reason. No reason.
But not stopping is not an option.
I got pulled over leaving my girlfriend's house on Elk Grove Boulevard. They told me they thought I left a drug dealer house. Oh. And I said, well, what's wrong? Well, you don't have a license plate. It's a brand new car. Why should I have a license plate?
This is my question, though. And if there's any police officers that are out there listening, can you please give us a call? Because sometimes I feel like as African Americans, we're not supposed to have anything.
No.
I do feel, this is just my feelings. I'm not saying this is everybody else's feelings. Sometimes I feel like we're not supposed to have anything. So if you look like you have something, it look like we've obtained it illegally. Because we're not supposed to be successful. We're not supposed to live in a nice house. That's just how I feel. We're not supposed to be driving a nice car. Because I never forget when I was buying my home up here in Sacramento, when I was a manager at a store, and I never forget one of my coworkers, when I was buying in the process, she said, you can afford to buy a house?
Wow.
I was speechless. I was like, what?
Right.
Because she didn't think I could afford to buy a house. Hi, 97.5.
Yeah.
Two comments. I have 2 black sons, and I know that's what you guys were talking about. The first comment, that lady who called in and said about her boyfriend's his registration wasn't any good. I mean, they don't pull you over for registration. They'll pull you over if your tags aren't good, which is an indication that you have a registration. So that was false what she said. And I work for the Department of Corrections, so I know better. But I've been in Sacramento since 2006. I had some young men pull over at my house. 8 police cars come to my house because they had dreads. Their cars were taken, and it was a terrible experience. They were telling the young men to put their hands up. One of the young men's arm was broken, so he could not pull his hands up, and they drew on him.
They drew on him?
Drew their guns on him. I was standing in my house, which I have a 3-story house, telling the police officers the boy's arm is broke. He cannot put his hands up. And they were good kids. They had driven down from Fresno. They were college kids. They just happened to be black in a brand new car in front of my home, which I'm black. And as you said, we're not allowed to have anything. And that's what happened. I mean, it was 8 cars, and they all drew on these young men. They put 4 on the floor, and the one sat in the front seat of the car was trying to get his hand up, and his arm was broken. So, you know, when it's broken, it's braced. down.
Oh no.
So he could not literally put his arm up.
So what happened to the young man after that?
Well, they took them, arrested them, put them in impounded vehicle, and his sister had to come and get him the next day from Fresno.
Now, how do they feel now about the police after this incident?
I'm not sure how they felt about it, but being that I'm like the only black woman in this neighborhood, and it put a lot of backlash on me. You know, my neighbors looking at me now like, who do you have coming up in our neighborhood? The fact that, you know, I have to walk out amongst these people, and you don't get to explain to these people, well, these boys were racially profiled. In a vehicle that
all the time.
They were in a vehicle that belonged to them. They were pulled over because of the dreadlocks that they had, which to them is some kind of social sign. But that's about what they believe in. And they shouldn't have been pulled over in this brand new neighborhood. And it was solely because they're in a brand new neighborhood that they were pulled over. And their car was taken. And, I mean, now you have impound fees and everything else that went along with that. And that the next day.
What is your name? Where are you calling from?
I live in South Sacramento off of Meadowview.
And what's your name?
My name is Kathy Ford.
Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, 97.5.
Assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fairly well for an old man.
Okay. What's your comment?
But I just want to make this comment. I know a brother who was a Sacramento City Police officer for well over 20 plus years. And he told me how when he'd be in the locker room, he'd hear those young officers talking about how they would target people who were downtrodden. You know, people with little buckets. You know, people just trying to survive with what they could put together to get their, you know, to work and get their kids to school. Hello?
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. But he said, he told me outright, he said these young officers, white officers, would target. You understand what I'm saying? People who are doing bad. You know, sometimes you can't afford to pay what you got to pay because they've cut us off economically. In such a way that, you know, sometimes we have to drive a bucket. Or a hoopty. You feel what I'm saying?
I do.
I mean, you know, and put a little tape over the light to keep it going.
Right.
But it was ironic, and I even experienced something similar to that myself, but I won't go into that because it's a long story and I can't make it short.
Okay. Well, what's your name and where are you calling from?
What neighborhood?
What is your name and where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Stephen.
Hi, Stephen.
And I'm from Sacramento. I was born and raised right here in Sacramento.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, yeah, well, believe me, my sister, I'm not, you know, I'm going to say it like this. I can't remember take my hat off to them brothers because the straw that broke the camel's back, it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, we've been up against oppression for so long. I was watching a movie the other day.
Well, sir, I have more calls to take, but I want to thank you so much for calling in.
Okay, and just one more thing. When the police used to come, well, actually when the Klan or those white citizens would come with their bats and axe handles and stuff to attack us, they had police backing.
Right, that's true. Well, again, thank you so much for your comments.
Okay, and your name again?
Lady Charmaine.
You're Lady Charmaine?
Yes.
So, too bad I can't get an autograph through the phone.
I know. Well, we'll meet one day.
Hopefully so, but may you have a blessed evening, dear, and let's keep this stuff alive.
We sure will. Thank you so much.
All right.
Gosh, Lady Charmaine, her story reminded me of a Christmas party me and my brother had a few years ago. Every year we do an all-white party, and we usually have celebrity guests, Stevie J, any kind of people. So my parents have lived behind the gates in the hills of the golf course for over, my son's 18, for 18 years, since 1998. And we had this one, every year was always an issue. I mean, even though we lived there, our neighbor 2 doors down always had some form of issue. We got too many cars on the parking lot, or there's too many people outside. For years we've gotten complaints. And this particular time we did our Christmas party, and we already set the rules ahead. The house was empty. My parents were moving up here to Westlake, so the house was pretty much empty. We had all the rules. Everyone has to be inside, no one on the outside. Everyone come in. Here's the gate code. The party must be contained. No smoking. Like we knew. We've been doing this for 15 years. We know how this works. Stay in our zone, and we won't have any problems. But I tell you, the police end up coming to the party. I mean, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't people all in the courts. We had a lot of cars, but they were parking in the parkable area, which is on the main street of the golf course. But the police showed up. It had to be about 40 police officers that came, and they demanded the party to be shut down. But we had nothing. But we're asking them. So what are we doing that's wrong? What are we doing? Is the music too loud? No, because we've already turned it down. We're not blasting it out. It was a 6,000 square foot home. The party was contained inside. We had plenty of space. There's no one hanging in the front. So what's your issue now? Well, we know that Jay Diggs is in the house. Have him come out. So then it became we know this is Jay Diggs' party. He needs to come out. And my brother's like, I haven't done nothing. I'm not coming out. So he refused to come out. But what the police did was they harassed us so much so that it was at a point where we didn't want the party goers, the people that came to leave, because every time someone pulled off, they were arresting them. So, I mean, by the end of the night, over 20 people were arrested and put in jail. And for just attending, not even doing anything. I mean, the harassment is real, especially when you live in these neighborhoods that are gated communities. And again, we deserve to be there.
Is it the neighborhood that look like African Americans should not live in?
Absolutely. It's custom homes. We've been living on the 18th hole of the golf course since 1998. But that's no fault of ours that we've made money and we've been able to afford this lifestyle. But they say that we shouldn't.
One second. If Darnell Miller is listening, I want you to call in. He's actually an officer, and I want him to call in. He's an African American officer. Hi, 97.5.
How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
How are you ladies doing today?
We're doing well. Thank you.
Good. Anyway, I just wanted to make a real quick comment, and I've been listening to each lady that gave their own story.
Okay.
What I have a hard time with, actually it's not a hard time, but what people don't understand, what our race don't understand, is that we're a very intelligent race.
We understand that.
We have some idiots, but at the same time, when it comes to black-white, they make us, or they want us to be second-class citizens, which we're not. We deserve as much right in this country as any other race. And it bothers me that as a black man, I can't have the nice things, like she said, without being pulled over. I own a Harley. I live in a $500,000 home in a nice neighborhood, and I'm the only black in the area, okay? So I feel what the lady just said. I feel it.
Right.
And I'm tired of it.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Rob, and I'm calling from Farrell's.
Thank you so much, Rob, for calling in.
You betcha. And you guys, you ladies, keep on doing what you're doing, okay?
Thank you, Rob. God bless you, too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
But we'll be back after the break. We're talking about mothers of black sons in this community, and how do we deal with the fear that parents have when their kids go out or when they leave the comfort of your home. Our prayer is that our sons return home safely. We'll be back with that on Lady Charmaine Live and Lady Charmaine and Girlfriends. You're watching a Rich Girl Dreams production.